Hey everyone, this is Brett. I'm going to take you through Lesson 1, your first web page, which goes over how to create a web page. So this lesson is found on devnano.com/lesson-1. And as you go through it, there's a little explanation of what HTML is, and then we have our first exercise. So I have Atom opened here on the right. I'm going to go File, New File. That's going to give me my file over here. And then I'm going to type in just what it says here. So the first thing is h1, that's the tag, and then hello world. And then I'm going to close my h1 tag. And I'm going to hit save, and I'm just going to save that right to my desktop as ex1.html. And when I hit save, you'll see the syntax highlighting comes up, and the file name is down here. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open a new tab in Chrome, and I'm going to hit File, Open File, and I'm going to my desktop, and I'm going to go open ex1.html and hit Open. And there we see Hello World. So what did we just do? Well, we created a file called ex1, we saved it to the desktop, and then we opened it from the desktop in Chrome. And Chrome looked at this file, and it parsed the text here, and it saw that we started at h1, and then it has the text hello world, and then we close that h1 tag, and there we see our text there. Now if in Chrome, if you right click and you hit inspect, it will bring up these developer tools, and you'll see what got rendered out here. So you can see that even though we didn't put an HTML or a head or any body tags, the browser automatically put those in there for us, and then it rendered out our h1 hello world tag. So really we should start this with our doc type and say HTML to know that this is a Html5 page, and then we can start with HTML, and then we need to have our closing HTML tag, and then we have our head, and then our closing head tag, and then we will have our body tag, and then we will have our closing body tag, and I messed up on this HTML tag there. So I can do that, I can save that again, and then refresh the page, and you'll see that nothing really changed, but it's good that we have this set up. Now, one thing to note here is that you'll see how in here it shows it indented, and that's because the browser is doing some indentation for us. And in here I don't have it indented. That's not a good practice. So generally it's best practice to indent your tags like this, and so that you can see what's open and what is closed. And so it forms a line. So if you imagine an invisible line going from this top HTML tag to the bottom HTML tag, that's in a line, and then everything in that is in the next row of indentation, where here you have your head with the opening tag, the closing tag, and because that tag is closed, the body is at the same level in the hierarchy as the head tag, so the body lines up with head. But now the h1 tag is nested inside of the body tag, so it is again indented further, and so you can clearly see that this is nested inside of the body tag, and then we have h1, then we close the body, and then we close our HTML. So this is really helpful. That inspect element is helpful when you want to go see other websites, how they are built. So for example, we can go to the signal versus noise blog that we talked about in class, and we can go to a certain blog post, and we can do the same thing here. So we can right click, and then we can hit inspect, and it will show us how this site is created. Now this is way more complicated, but you can see they have an HTML tag, they have the doc type, there's the head, here's the body tag, then they have some script tags, and then they start into the actual structure of the site with the div tag, and it goes on. And what's interesting, as you're doing this, you can see that it actually will highlight. Let me go back here. as I hover over it, it will highlight different parts of the screen that it's covering. And so, for example, if I go to this H1 tag and I right-click and hit Inspect, it will take me right to that H1 tag. And you can see as I highlight over it, it highlights the H1 tag. So that's an interesting way to explore how other people are writing HTML and see the structures that they're using. All right, so we have our first web page, and we've learned about the H1 tag. Now, as it says here, HTML tags are used to tell the browser the structure of the web page. So the heading, or the H1 tag, is the most important heading. But there's other types of heading tags, such as the H2 tag. And this is, we'll just say hello to, and then we'll close our H2 tag. Now, I'll save that with hitting Command S on the Mac, or I think it's Control S on Windows. And then over in Chrome, I'm going to hit Command R to refresh, or you come up to here to view reload this page, which is, you can see Command R. So it reloaded the page, and this is you see our second tag here. Now, if I inspect the element, you'll see here the H2 hello to. Now there's 6 heading tags, so I'm going to say H3, and I'll just type in hello 3. And then I'm going to skip ahead and do H4 and do hello 4. And I'm going to save that, and then I'll refresh the page. And then I'm going to keep going. I'm going to do H5, hello 5, and there's H5. Oh, remember to close that tag. Save, and then H6, hello 6, and then I'm going to close the tag. I'll save that with Control S, and then I'll come over to Chrome and hit, Command S, and then come over to Chrome and hit Command R to refresh it, and you'll see that my heading tags are all here. Now, there's a little trick here, and I think I say it in the lesson as the tip. This is important, that HTML is used to define structure, not style. So you'll notice that the style has changed from H1 through H6, but that's because of some default settings inside of the browser. And so if I go inspect the H1 element and I highlight it, it shows the styles, and we haven't really talked about CSS yet, we'll talk about that in the future, but it shows that H1 has some default styles in the browser. But that has nothing to do with the H1 tag. It has everything to do with the default CSS that's in the browser. So make sure that you're never using HTML to style the site. As it says here, don't use headings to make big or bold text. We really need to do that with CSS. And there's other tags that we can use to surround our sections that we want to have show emphasis on, and then we can use the CSS to style them. So even though the style is changing, just remember that the point of the HTML is to denote what this is. This is the most important heading, the first heading. This is the second most important heading, the third, and so on. And don't get into the habit of using tags to actually define style. So as you can see in here, the homework just asks you to play around in the text editor, try to break things, try to see what happens if you take out an H5 tag and save it and refresh. Well, look what happened. Even though I took that out, the browser was smart enough to put it in for me. Now Chrome is a smart browser, but some other browsers might not do that. Some older browsers will just render the page or maybe have some errors. So it's always good to check your HTML. And the best way to do that is you can come to, or one way to do that I should say, is you can type into Google HTML syntax checker. And there's a W3 validator that's online. And if you click on validate by direct input, I can take my HTML here, I can copy it, and I can paste it, and I hit check, and it's going to tell me that what errors I have with my HTML. So I come to the first error, and it says HTML head is missing a required instance of the child element title. And then it shows me in head, in between these two tags, there should be a title element. So I'm going to come back to my code here, and I'm going to hit title, and then say my first web page. And then I'm going to close that with the title tag. I'm going to save that. And then here it's also telling me the heading cannot be the child of another heading. And that's because I've missed my closing H5 tag. So I'm going to come back over to the right side here and add my closing tag. Save it. Then I'm going to copy all of this code here, copy it, and then I'm going to paste it over into the input box here. Now, on the screen you can't see what I did with the keys, so when I copied it I hit Command C, or you can come up to Edit and then Copy, and you'll see that it shows the shortcut is Command C. So when I highlight it I hit Command C. Then when I came over here I can hit Edit Paste or Command V, and so I just use the shortcut keys to do that. Command V will work, or you can hit Edit, Paste. Now I'm going to check that again, and if it's good, it says the document checking completed, no errors or warnings to show. So we know that our HTML is valid. So I'm going to save that again. And some of these things that I've gone over are not in the text here, but that's why it's important to watch the video. So last learning tip, we talked about this in class, but it's important to be curious. Try things out. See if you can break this. Move things around. Try to explore. What happens if you put an H7 in here and say hello 7? And I'm going to put H7 again. Let's copy this and let's put it into our checker and hit check, and let's see what happens. And it's saying H7 not allowed child element of body in this context, so H7 isn't valid. Anyway, that's just an example, but you can go just play around, explore, try to build things out, but be curious. Just be curious. The final thing I want to cover is this HTML5 tutorials at the W3 schools. Here's the website, w3schools.com/HTML. And they have these documents or these examples in here. Talks about HTML documents, headings, paragraphs, links. And as you go through this, there is about 50 lessons in here. If I expand the page, you'll see it come out here. And the best thing to do is just go through each one of these examples and learn all of these different things. Now, something that I personally like to do is as I'm going through something like this, I try to just get through it as quick as possible to try to understand the breadth of what I need to learn. So don't spend too much time worrying about remembering every little thing. Just go through it once the first time and you're going to learn a lot of different things, but you'll be able to come back to it over and over again as you get in and you code and you're building out your website. So just try to get through everything. You'll learn some of the concepts, some of it you'll remember, some of it you won't, but it's just good to understand what HTML covers in its entirety. So I hope that helps. In another video, I'm going to go through and do some of the exercises with you so you can see how I do them and about how long it takes, but generally they're pretty quick. So anyway, that's the lesson for today. Hope you enjoy. Thanks.